I'm doing this so early is because there's actually breaking news that's really important that I need to get out there. I'm running for re-election and what's next and get you caught up on, like I said, some breaking news. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, University of Maryland. I played a lot of volleyball over the year. I used to coach the high school. I'm married to Stacy Larson, who's been on the Olympic Peninsula for years. We own 3 properties in Port Townsend, including our house and on Cappy's Trails, a little meditation garden. And my professional career, I worked at the hospital for years and in performance improvement and in the IT department. This is just some snapshots of me. My mom and dad both have passed on. My dad this last year, so I got to see them go through our healthcare system to the end, and you learn a lot from that. And this is just I was married before, and I have 5 adopted children from my previous wife, and my 5 children are all members of the Puyallup tribe. Yep, and this is just me and Stacy again. More of us. These are all the friends that have agreed so far to be photographed and put into my presentation. Actually, he has not agreed yet. My life before politics, I've done 31 years in Port Townsend, and like I said, first was involved in the volleyball community, do karaoke. At least I used to do a lot of that. 15 years at Jefferson Healthcare as an employee. In the Information Systems Department and then in the Performance Improvement Department. And this is just me. Over the years, this is the same tree. That's when I first started. I looked a little different then, and I don't know, it changed.
30 years will do that to you.
Yes, it will.
Where's your lanyard?
Yeah.
I don't recognize you without your lanyard.
Yeah, I got one hidden there. So again, just family, connected with the Quimper Unitarian Fellowship. You go to their family camp every year. I taught meditation out at the Clown Bay Correctional Center for a while. It's one of the things that's really helped me a lot in my life, meditation, and I've tried teaching it, and I've published a book about it, things I've learned. I've done podcasting over the years, and these are from I used to just interview people, get very philosophical. I first got drawn into politics through Occupy, and I got really involved with Occupy Port Townsend and helped organize, and these are clips. And I was working at the hospital during this time when we did all these events. And it was really, this is what sort of got me politically engaged and got me to decide to run for office and just try to, basically I ran for office, as part of my activism. Just a way to try to change things and to use. So no agenda for power or anything. I mean, in hospital commissioner, there's not much you get for it. You get a little bit of money, you get health insurance, but that's not where the big money is in healthcare, being a public hospital commissioner. Okay, so there we go. Background, and now we're getting close to the breaking news. 11 years public hospital commissioner. These are some of the things I achieved. When I first got on the board, I immediately, or after a few meetings, said I'm going to start recording the meetings because I was not impressed with the level of consistency people had during the meetings. And and because I did that, all meetings are recorded except off-site ones. They don't record them. I have to record them myself and archive them, and I do that since the group one.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of story about that. I mean, other things, when I first got on the board, they actually had it in the board book that substance abuse and mental health were not to be considered medical conditions for the purpose of the hospital district. It was a weird thing to try to give them permission to not address those things. But we removed that, and we do have increased services in those areas. One of the things I did early on was to make a motion that we make our charity care policy as generous as possible within the limits of the law. And we did that, and we do have one of the most generous charity care policies. These are just a few other things that I did over the years. I campaigned for universal health care using, that's one thing you can do with the position of hospital commissioner is you get to go to conferences, you get to network, and I thought hospital commissioners could become sort of their own political force. So I have stories about that, but it helped me learn how a lot of the bureaucracy works. Very, very helpful. I founded two associations, Public Hospital Commissioners for Single Payer and the Association of Public Hospital Commissioners, again, trying to organize commissioners because the current associations are controlled by CEOs, and they, CEOs as a group have their own political interests. That's not quite the same as the vast majority of people. So they're not really supportive of single payer, I find.
Those people are interested in making money. They're for-profit hospital CEOs, and there's more of them than community people.
Well, you make plenty of money in a public hospital district as if you're, other than hospital commissioners, plenty of money made in healthcare. And so I mean, it's a good career. And I do want to say, we have an amazing hospital, we have amazing people there, amazing staff, and great quality healthcare. But I am about to go into some big dysfunctional things that have happened that could be an issue at the top. But I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging the people that work there and the great care they do.
For the purposes of this event, you probably can go ahead.
Yes. So the first, I'm not going to go into detail, but the first thing was between 2013 and 21, all around me recording the meetings. They tried to stop me. They tried to pressure me. It's a crazy story, but I learned, one thing I learned about this is you don't skip, if there is wrongdoing that possibly could be criminal, you don't skip the police and the sheriff. You don't go to the county prosecutor or the attorney general. You don't start talking to lawyers. You go to cops if you think something's wrong. And because I did that, there was some potential fraud in this first fiasco, and I went straight to the county prosecutor and bounced around between the attorney general and them. And after we bounced around a few times, at the end, they were like, well, if you really want to report this, go to the sheriff. After a year of bouncing around, and I was like, that was good to know. So I've actually, so much has happened. I've made some books. They're basically just transcripts of things that happened, because it's basically just raw truth. Without a lot of commentary from me. Okay. So I was supposed to reserve just but my wife was told me do not do more than 4 minutes on this saga. So here you go. 4 minutes on the Peninsula Health Alliance saga that was on the cover of the PT Leader, front page, top of the fold, 2 times, but they stopped at a certain point. So I'm going to catch you up to the present, and you're going to hear stuff that only a few people know. Okay, so here we go. It starts on February 5th. That's when there was an executive session where they first introduced to the commissioners this proposal to basically merge Jefferson Healthcare and OMC, Olympic Medical Center, under a nonprofit called the Peninsula Health Alliance. This was done in executive session. There was discussion. All the commissioners went around saying they thought it was a good idea to submit this proposal, which is an illegal act. You can't make a decision in an executive session. You can't be shown a proposal like this in an executive session. It has to be shown in public. There's very specific reasons to go into an executive session, because that's where you're not recorded. I'm not allowed to record in there. I'm not allowed to tell you what happens in there. So this was a problem on February 5th. On February 12th, Mike Glenn, the CEO, emails all the commissioners the proposal, and he tells us it's not subject to open public records request. He's trying to tell us you can't tell anyone about this. On February 19th, I emailed all the commissioners a document that said key concerns regarding this. I had spoken to my own lawyer and done my own research, and I was like, there's all sorts of problems with what you just did. And I told them, on February 19th, OMC selected us to go into the next round of proposals. They're working with a bunch of different healthcare organizations, probably Swedish, Providence. February 25th, I emailed Jill Bueller and Mike Glenn saying, when are you going to tell us if this has happened? Because I knew the 19th was the deadline. On March 2nd, that's when she finally told me that we were accepted. March 14th, because I started posting on my blogs critiques without saying what was going on, just some broad critiques of if we were going to ever do anything like this, we should do it openly. So on March 14th, Jill Bueller calls me on my personal cell phone and basically tries to convince me this is all a good idea and I should take the stuff off my blog. And I asked her, why is this a good idea? Why is it a good idea to merge Jefferson with OMC? OMC is struggling financially. They're losing like $20 million a year. We are doing okay. Why is this good for us? And she said to me, I don't know. Mike Glenn is the expert and I trust him.
That's right.
There's a major malfunction right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, well, thank you for telling me how deeply you thought about this. On March 18th, they pull us into an executive session with attorney Brad Berg, who was involved with the previous scandal. And in that, they basically, again, Brad Berg basically said you can continue to keep this secret using the real estate discussion exemption. And he said, and they basically discussed how we can keep this a secret until OMC decides they're ready, and then do something to make it sort of a done deal, but then give an appearance of it not being a done deal so our community can talk about it and sort of process it. And Brad Berg chimed in saying the way you accomplish that is with a signed letter of intent. And so it'll be like a binding, non-binding agreement is what they're gonna set up. And they're like, basically, they were like saying, we wanna wait till April. And this is back in March. They didn't wanna go public. And so I was very disappointed with that meeting, but Brad Berg did not address any of my concerns that I sent them in a documented email. We come out of that meeting and, well actually, yeah, I tell them we need another opinion, because I don't think the opinion we're getting from Brad Berg about how we're doing this is good. But I make a motion to get another lawyer, another opinion, they don't do it. Okay. So then, on March 26th, I decide, that's it. I'm telling everyone that this is going on.
You eat tattletale, you bullshit.
So, I mean, I was never, this was like so scary for me to go in there and like, I'm going to blow the whistle. This is terrifying.
Well, I regretfully need to inform the public that Jefferson Healthcare is in secret negotiations with Olympic Medical Center to create something called the Peninsula Health Alliance. This proposal and negotiations have taken place without...
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes, you are now in order.
Point of order.
Yeah, this is something that was discussed in executive session, and you cannot divulge this.
And if I could add that that's a violation of our ethics, and whether Commissioner Ray agrees with the majority of the board and our legal counsel, whether we were appropriately in executive session.
So
is that Keith?
that's case called, yeah,
Good bastard.
later in the meeting.
It has come to my attention that Jefferson Healthcare is in secret negotiations with Olympic Medical Center to create something called the Peninsula Health...
Sorry.
I assume you're putting a public hat on now?
This is, I just make sure it's
Sure,
public
I want
comment.
to talk as a member of the public.
All right, 3 minutes.
It has come to my attention that Jefferson Healthcare is in secret negotiations with Olympic Medical Center to create something called the Peninsula Health Alliance.
Matt,
Remember-
this is
remember
an
the-
unsubstantiated, you are saying things that are unsubstantiated and bordering on libel or slander at this point. So I really am not going to allow this. If you have something that is can be substantiated, that's fine. But you're not. You're treading on thin ice here.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Did you say this, you were speaking during what was known as a public comment period?
Yep, I was.
Well, then she's full of shit, pardon me. She's incorrect. You can say anything you want in public.
Yeah, they
You
gave me
can-
3
You
minutes.
can walk up to each individual one of them within 4 feet and say, you're a crook, you're a crook, you're a crook, and they can't stop you. It's public comment period.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're gonna present this again, I would recommend saying,
really clarified. This
Real
was
quick.
public comment. I was speaking as a member of the public. I forgot to mention, at the beginning of the meeting, when they first cut me off and didn't let me finish speaking, that was the moment I actually pushed submit on a criminal complaint to Jefferson County Sheriff on it. I had it all prepared. I wasn't sure if I would do it, but when I was like, oh, they're gonna mute me, I sent it. Because I'm like, they're lying, which I consider fraud, and fraud is a crime. You know, it might not be prosecuted depending on the circumstances, but it's fraud, and they're all doing it together. That's a conspiracy. And so I was like, so anyways, I said I didn't know if anything would come of a criminal complaint, but I was like, this is an appropriate step. I'm also did other complaints. But let me finish out the little clip I have.
It's a case.
Do I not
You're
get the
muted.
print
Can you-
I would like to make a motion to close public comment.
And they did. They all voted to close it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that presentation, Mike.
So this is later in the same meeting. Mike does a presentation. I raise my hand. I'm like, I got a question, And this is the same meeting.
I agree, the landscape of healthcare is very challenging indeed. But for that reason, I think it's important that public hospital districts act with integrity and honesty and appropriately transparent with the public. If Jefferson Healthcare has submitted a proposal to Olympic Medical Center in response to their public
Mike,
request for proposal, then that would not be with the approval
I am
of the board.
cutting you
It
off
would be
right now.
an illegal.
Matt, stop.
Muted me again.
There are questions that I can answer. Any questions or comments by commissioners about something that I can talk about?
That you can talk about? This is the best example of founder syndrome I have ever seen. They are so into themselves, they don't think they can do anything wrong.
Yes, it's just disregarding the law. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was right here. That was that crazy meeting, the craziest hospital commissioner meeting I think in history. So I filed a criminal complaint with Sheriff Pernsteiner. I've never met the guy, didn't know what would happen. March 27th, I submit an employee complaint to HR for the CEO, who I believe he coordinated an illegal executive session, which is, I think, inappropriate misconduct in my opinion. Then on March 23rd, I submitted a referral to Washington State Auditor Office. On March 30th, I emailed Brian King, Sheriff of Clallam County, because it's two counties involved, so I sent him the same complaint. On March 31st, Port Townsend leader had listened to that meeting and was like, what the heck happened? They contacted me and they were like, what's going on? The leader contacted me, and on 31st, I answered all their questions. I wrote him a book and I told him everything that I knew. On March 28th, I submit, we're back. So the leader contacts me, March 31st, answers the question. On April 2nd, Port Townsend leader publishes front page story telling everyone about it. On 4/8, Sheriff Pernsteiner replies to me for the first time. Most powerful email I've ever gotten as a commissioner. He said, thanks for reaching out and bringing this to my attention. I'm forwarding this to Detective Sergeant Derek Allen to investigate. He'll be contacting you. Please be patient. We're going to go through this. I found out he assigned it to Detective Derek Allen, and he was going to look at everything I gave him, because I gave him a good report, and he was going to make a report that would be given to the prosecutor and public knowledge to me. And I was like, great, no idea when this would ever come,
Right.
but I was like, I can't believe someone's actually working on it. It was the first time anyone in the bureaucratic system had listened when I said there is wrongdoing here, and someone did something. So, never met Sheriff Pernsteiner or this detective, but they are. I'm just so grateful that they actually are doing their job. So people just need to do their jobs.
Yep.
But then the report came. Let me back up. So, Port Townsend leader, sheriff replies, email commissioner public comment, reports, oh yeah, okay, so then the report from the sheriff comes in, sends it to me on May 14th. We are now this is definitely breaking news. Nobody knows any of this except all the commissioners of OMC and Jefferson, because I've told them all, and I sent them all the report. The leader has known that the criminal complaint was sent in, but they've never reported that. So, get the report back. I send a letter to the Attorney General with the report, because I'll show you what's in the report. There's a lot that validates the wrongdoing. It basically says that they're like, we're not sure there's criminal wrongdoing, but they validated the meeting was invalid, the proposal looks invalid, it looks like possible misconduct. I'll show you more later, or I'll just skip to it. This is what the sheriff came up with. After analyzing it, he said it seems likely that the actions described may violate the Washington State Open Public Meeting Act with potential civil penalties. Criminal charges are less certain. Research suggests there's possible official misconduct, which is a crime, gross misdemeanor, if actions were taken with the intent to benefit or deprive rights. So, anyways, the evidence leans towards unauthorized board actions and suppression of transparency, raising concerns about public trust and governance. So, we also did get a great letter from Jeff Randall saying critique of the board that they have not, that has not gone public. It was sent to the commissioners, but it hasn't gone public. Angela Gurko made an amazing public comment at one of the last board meetings. I just want to get sort of acknowledged. And Allison Arthur then, on 523. You know, she's a former reporter for the Leader, and she hired a lawyer herself because she was in the loop on this, and the lawyer confirmed, basically similar to what the prosecutor said. There's a lot of wrongdoing here. For no agency can legally use real estate or potential litigation to hide the level of the proposal that we were talking about there. Okay? So, I'm just going to tell you, so this is what's happened since then. So I sent that to all the board of OMC and to all of Jefferson saying, look, this is our county prosecutor has said there is a problem with this proposal that our hospital sent to you guys. You guys need to stop working on it. It's potentially an illegal proposal. Any communication that you're doing, and they're also like struggling financially, trying to figure out what to do. They don't want to be tied up in some mess like this.
Right.
So, but I also like analyzed what the prosecutor said about the whether or not there was crimes, and it seemed to me that the prosecutor is being very generous in saying there's no criminal intent here. There is plausible criminal intent based on my research. So I emailed that to everyone, because everyone needs to understand this is not just a mess that you could get like fined for. This is potential a criminal conspiracy that you're all involved in now. And I request a full meeting. I just say let's just have full boards meet. We can meet in executive session with our lawyers, but I am completely out of the loop of what these two hospitals are talking about. And our prosecutor has said what they're talking about is not legally being talked about. I'm sharing the story here. I'm recording it so that I can share it widely, because like I said, the Leader, no one knows about the prosecutor opinion yet. No one knows about Allison Arthur's letter yet. Yeah, 2 days ago, all commissioners were sent an email from Jefferson, all the Jefferson healthcare commissioners asked to meet in private with an attorney for 1 hour, each one individually, which is a textbook. It's called a hub and spoke serial meeting. Like you can't meet with all the commissioners outside of a meeting. You can't send an agent to go interview each commissioner and use that agent, whether it's the CEO or an agent of the CEO. You can't do that. It's a hub and spoke. So this request that we all talk to this new lawyer, which is not Brad Bird, because I should also point out, I sent in I didn't list there, but I sent in a Washington State bar complaint against Brad Bird because he participated, he coordinated in this, and all the commissioners kept on saying, our lawyer says we're okay, our lawyer says we're okay. My lawyer said this is not valid. All my research says it's not valid, so I just drafted a bar complaint, sent it in. And that way, so we're waiting on the Attorney General to say something, the Washington State Auditor to say something. If necessary, I could file like an FBI, a federal complaint. I don't think criminal prosecution is likely the way to really resolve and heal the situation. I think the way this will be healed is with open, honest discussion, the two boards talking. I think internally at Jefferson, and I've already requested this, I put in a request for an internal investigation into potential misconduct of the CEO and the commissioners. And I think that's really the way to deal with something like this. You should just like sit down, do interviews, document this is what happened, this is what legally should have happened, this is who did wrongdoing, whether they knew they were doing wrongdoing or not, and there might be some consequences for some people. And so I don't know, the rest of the commissioners all are on the same page. Yeah, so what's next? Like I said, I just sort of said this, I don't really know. But what is next is there's an election, and I'm the only commissioner who thinks there's a problem with any of this. So if I'm voted off, you'll have a board full of people that think this is great and fine the way they're doing things. You also will have no more recordings of meetings where you can hear any of this stuff because they do not like that I forced them to record it. And so anyways, that is that. And like I said, basically I'm on a mission to, the reason I'm doing this event and I'm going to just start doing events like this is because I'm like, people need to hear this. It's not really about, I want to be reelected, but I'm actually on a press release mission. People need to know this is going on because we're not dealing with it as a community. The hospitals are not dealing with it. The press is not dealing with it. So I'm just going to be going around telling people, yeah, so then I say thank you. And I want to say thank you to everyone who did their job. James Robinson of the Leader, they wrote that first article, they put it on the front page. That was so helpful. That's the state auditor, Linda Siebert, she like got back to me, she said, okay, I'm gonna open a case on this, and she's doing her part. So, but they are like a year behind. They're not like a front, they're more of like, they'll review it after it all happens. They don't help you in the middle of it. Andy Pernsteiner, Detective Derek Allen, doing their jobs. Like I said, never met them, but thank you so much. Barney Burke sent an amazing letter to the editor about it. Jeff Randall, amazing letter. Angela, even Deputy Prosecutor Ashcraft, even though his letter was, I think, a little generous and protective of them, it still was brutal enough, I think, to resolve it. Brutal enough so that he's saying there was wrongdoing.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm not going to try to put anyone in jail, but there is wrongdoing here, and the people responsible for correcting that bureaucratic wrongdoing at this level should do it. He's just trying to make it not him.
Yeah, that's all we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, just accept you made a mistake and fix it.
And I especially want to thank my audience who sat through this today. It's so helpful, and actually it was great getting your reactions during. But anyways, all I can do is what I can do. On my website, readyforhealthcare.org, I'm a software developer into AI. I actually have an AI avatar that I've loaded in knowledge of all this. You can actually talk to it about this and ask questions. It's pretty wild. And also you can talk to me in person. I'm just an ordinary guy, but occasionally I'm around crazy people.
Finest guy.
Yeah, that was my campaign manager first time around, Jack Granger, he's now public defender. Yeah, so that's the story. That's what I wanted to share, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess there is you guys have any questions?
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised this hasn't happened sooner. Like I said, it's a fine example of founder syndrome, where people do the same job with the same people for multiple periods of time, and they believe they own the process.
Yeah.
And they don't have to follow the rules anymore because it's just them against the world. And that's exactly what this is them against the world. And that's not why they're commissioners. They're supposed to be supporting us, representing us, the people who use the local health care. So that's my comment.
Yeah.
I do not believe they're doing their job correctly.
Yeah, I agree.
And they never have.
Well,
Just an opinion from 30 years at the hospital myself. Not impressed with our admin. This is just a fine example of why.
well, not to broaden, this is an absolute train wreck. This the previous scandal with them, with the recording, also was a train wreck. It seemed very undemocratic. Not impressed with their lack of belief in, and they've even said, some of them have said they don't believe in public hospital districts. They think it should just be privatized, or they don't like the transparency. They don't feel it helps them. And this has convinced me I just am not going to participate in any of their, Jill tries to call me again. It's like, no, just talk to me in a meeting.
Yep.
On the record, that's all I need.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll stop the recording so that we can take the pressure of that.